was such a beautiful day today that I thought it'd be great to get outside and film our midweek message. As I sit here by the river, enjoying the beautiful view of high tide, I'm thinking how much I appreciate where I live. I'm also appreciating more and more my family, especially at a time when we're not allowed under the orange COVID protocols to see each other. And even as I was driving down here with my son to film, I was just struck by how true it is that he and I are very much alike. You know, when people see my son and get to talk to him for a little while, if they know me at all, they'll often say, "He's clearly your son." You know, I think that's what they call being guilty by association. That there's things we do the same, there's similarities we have that cause people to associate us with each other. And there's a story in the book of Acts of a time when a man who actually isn't on center stage in any way, he's not very famous or well known, but he became guilty by association. And I just want to share that story with you and then ask a question today. It's a very simple story found in Acts chapter 17 from verse 1 to 9. It's the story of Paul and Silas as they came to a place called Thessalonica. It says, "Now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul went in, as it was his custom, and on 3 Sabbath days, so every Saturday for 3 weeks, he reasoned with them from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and to rise from the dead, and saying, 'This Jesus whom I proclaim to you is the Christ.' And some of them were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, as did a great many of the devout Greeks, and not a few of the leading women. But the Jews were jealous. And taking some wicked men of the rabble, they formed a mob and set the city in an uproar and attacked the house of Jason, seeking to bring them out to the crowd. All we know at this point is that Jason is hosting them. He's given them a place to stay for the night and allowed them to be based out of his home. It says that when they could not find them, being Paul and Silas, they dragged Jason and some of the brothers, some of the people who had become Christians, before the city authorities, shouting, 'These men who have turned the world upside down have come here also, and Jason has received them. And they are all acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus.' And the people in the city authorities were disturbed when they heard these things. And when they had taken money as security from Jason and the rest, they let them go." So what do we know about Jason? He's guilty by association. His crime is caring enough to allow Paul and Silas and some of their friends to stay in his home. And just like in this world, when somebody commits a crime and you allow them to stay with you, he really becomes an accomplice, guilty by association of being someone that was causing trouble in the community. He became known as someone who deserved to be punished because they couldn't get their hands on the real perpetrators as they saw them. Paul and Silas certainly brought a controversial message, the good news that Jesus Christ was the Savior, the one who had died for the sins of many, that many could be forgiven if they put their faith in him. And Jason believed that message and welcomed them into his home and cared for them and fed them and gave them a place to sleep. And as a result, he was judged guilty. And just like any modern criminal, he had to post bail before they let him go. He had to give them money before they would allow him to go home, until such time as they chose to follow through on the charges. My question today is very, very simple. If somebody were judging you and looking at your life, would they find you guilty of association with Jesus? Would you be judged guilty by how you live and what you do, by who you spend time with, and by who you show hospitality to? Would there be enough evidence to convict you, in other words, that you are guilty by association of knowing Jesus, the one who came to save us all? It's a simple question, but an important one in these days. Because the evidence, my friends, is what we'll be judged on when the time comes. Jesus will look at us and say, "I know you because of what you did after you put your faith in me." Now, that's a difficult one for us to understand because none of us is saved because of what we do. But the truth is, if we're saved, it will change what we do. You'll become guilty by association.